What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 653 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Robert E. Felice.
Hey, hey.
And of course, all of you that are listening, thank you for joining for this episode. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below as we go along here and run down the topics we feel like talking about in this world of pro wrestling from the past few weeks, all the news and gossip and contract stuff and TV recap and so on and so forth. As always, I want to remind you, while you're leaving those comments, hit that like button on this video. Help us grow this channel to a point where it makes a little bit of money and helps us out on that upfront. And if you do have a little bit of spare change, then open up your wallets and help us out with the Patreon donations. Subscribe to those different tiers that you see on there, or the YouTube channel membership. $1 a month can go a long way. $5 a month goes even more. $10 a month gives you access to the Darkcast here, special members only episodes. Haven't quite figured out what we're going to do for this month for it. And if you have any suggestions, let me know. You can always sponsor something directly as well through the Pick Your Poison tier, or just toss a little bit of spare change our way with the thanks button, or pick up something on Redbubble and TeePublic for the merchandise shop. That way you get a little bit of swag or some merch for like a t-shirt or a hat or a wall design. There's all sorts of different things. I don't even know who is buying A-line skirts that have something to do with like a Fanboys Anonymous thing on it, but hey, it's all good, and all that stuff's greatly appreciated, as well as clicking the share button on this, passing it along to different websites or different people you think might be interested in checking out the podcast. And also keep in mind, we've got our Discord server for you to chat it up, and keep things flowing outside of the website and the YouTube and Facebook, and I'm always going to call it Twitter. I'm not going to call it X because it's stupid. So all that stuff, take advantage of that while you can. And we're going to get the ball rolling on these hot tags with more contract stuff that's been happening a lot lately. I think we've had more contract discussion in the tail end of 2023 and in 2024 than we've had like practically any other year. Seems like everybody's deals with WWE are kind of all happening at the same time. You got people like Ethan Page coming over to NXT. We got people like Camille and them that aren't even showing up yet for AEW. And now it seems like the most recent one, outside of, I guess, Natalia, which I'm just saying now, Natty's going to resign. There's no point in even discussing it. Is that Penta, El Zero Miedo? Hopefully you did the little gesture while I said that. His AEW contract is expiring pretty soon. It's going to be sometime in August or September. And of course, the natural discussion element of that is there's the discussion around, is he going to go somewhere else? There's some interest in WWE potentially bringing him in, but they can't make him an offer until they actually has that free agent status. So I would assume Penta is almost a guarantee to just re-sign with AEW. But stranger things have happened. What do you think's going to happen?
I'm going to say he explores free agency a little bit, but AEW allows him the freedom to work with AAA, CMLL, he does his thing, So unless he's really like, I have a desire to compete at WrestleMania, I don't think he goes anywhere.
Yeah, I'd imagine the likelihood is that he resigns. He's got gets a lot of freedom in AEW in terms of, still able to have the partnership with AAA, still able to go to Mexico if he wants to. Fundamentally, even though WWE seems to be expanding its horizons a little bit, when you sign to WWE, you are signed to WWE, and so other avenues become closed off to you. So, I imagine that he'll stick around. I just think that recent WWE history in terms of some of their AEW signings recently, the main one is sticking in my mind is the Andrade one, which has been very underwhelming so far. Like, he's been there about 5 months now, nearly closing in on 6 months.
Oh my god! Sorry.
Yeah, because he re-debuted in the Royal Rumble.
He went to the Rumble. Oh my!
Yeah.
I think my brain just jolted a little bit. Jesus, 6 months. Yeah, I mean, the thing with Andrade, though, is some people just have ceilings. Does Penta have a greater ceiling?
I would say that.
Depends on his house.
God, I hate you.
I would say that the fact that AEW probably has Phoenix tied up for a bit longer is probably the biggest indicator that he'll stick around.
Yeah, I mean, he and Phoenix are, we've seen tag team split. So, again, stranger things have happened. But he is a part of that duo. And it would be strange to not only leave the company that he's been with for so long, and on top of that, pigeonhole himself by sticking with just WWE, because they're not going to let him wrestle for CMLL or anything else. And then on top of that, his age. So WWE is not as likely to want to sign Penta because he's still got some years left to him or anything. It's not like he's ancient, but he's 39 years old. And WWE has been in this kind of space for a while where they sign somebody who's older that they feel they get like massive potential from, or they get people that are super young. And it's not like Penta hasn't had a history of injuries either, so that's another thing to weigh into whether or not WWE would offer him a big contract. I kind of feel like if WWE is not going to pick up somebody like a Camille or put the money and effort into an MJF or a lot of these other people that have been kind of hovering that space, I don't think that they're going to offer him something that's going to offset all the other elements of that. Meanwhile, if he's comfortable enough in AEW, why not let your contract expire and then renegotiate, or renegotiate as it's expiring or something? I'd be very shocked to see Penta go anywhere other than AEW, unless it's, I just want to be in CMLL or something. But I don't think we're going to see him in TNA. I don't think we're going to see him in WWE.
Well, he's a former TNA world champion. You never know.
TNA's getting a little bit more attention lately. So that's something.
But
yeah.
Meltzer was also quick to say last week they don't have any dates announced past August, so who knows what's happening there too. But no, I think Penta's gonna just stick around. I think people are liking doing this thing where, hey, did you hear that Dijak's contract's coming up? Hey, did you hear that Slapjack's contract with New Japan is coming up? That's a real thing. I didn't make that up.
They actually referred to him as Slapjack and not even
Shane. No. They referred to him as Shane Thorne, but he is Slapjack.
He'll always be Slapjack, at least in our hearts.
Yes. And I think people are they like doing this because it's getting discussion going, and it creates this, regardless of how real it is, it creates this like, ooh, is there a bidding war for talent and who's going where? It's trying to recapture that vibe of like when, hey, Sid just showed up on Nitro after he was like WWE champion last week, So I think people are just trying to create that.
So the real question is, who's going to sign Lex Luger?
Well, WWE they do actually have Lex Luger.
Oh, is he actually a part of a Legends
Yeah, he's
contract?
got a Legend deal, yeah.
Well, never mind then. So I mean, obviously in the future when that decision is made, we'll let everybody know about where Penta is going, but I'm assuming we could just skip straight to, and he re-signed with that, and then we'd end up not even talking about it. Somebody else that is now a part of the AEW team is Alicia Atout. Saw her last week, or not last week, 2 days ago.
You wish.
I wish I could go back a couple weeks for different things. With the interview that she did with Mark Briscoe after his victory on Dynamite. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I had written up a post about, hey, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that she is signed with AEW. It's just that she's made her first appearance since, I believe it was the first Double or Nothing show. She was in All In, and she was a Double or Nothing. I don't know if she's done a single appearance since then.
She hadn't done a single thing since. But of course, she would like a few hours later, I think the next morning.
It wasn't even the next morning at that point. It was like maybe like 40 minutes after the thing had happened or whatever.
Yeah, she was like, I'm all elite, which is great. It makes sense. First of all, she's a great backstage personality. She's a pretty strong personality in general in terms of like she gets interviews with wrestlers, bands. So like she's got the experience there. She was a staple of the MLW team, but obviously this is a step up from that. And she's also dating Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who just made his return to AEW, so that makes sense.
All the more reason to want to be there. Probably, not necessarily probably. It might have greased the wheels a little bit to be like, hey, can we work out a deal and she could join that? Kind of also, maybe they left a little bit of room for when they had released Dasha, and now she's filling in for her. But I like Alicia Atout, so I'm totally down for this. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, she's good at what she does, so it seems like it could be a good hire. I believe this probably would be the replacement for Dasha after she got released from AEW. So yeah, I say it's probably a lateral move in terms of talent, but that's fine. It's not like it's getting any worse. But yeah, I imagine that MJF probably played a significant part in her hiring.
Which makes sense. He's like, she is great at what she does. It's not like complete, favoritism. She's just like, no, sign her. She's free and she's, great. And I don't blame Tony Khan for doing that. And she's also younger too. And second time we'll bring up the age thing, but I think that helps sometimes, I love Renee Paquette. I think Renee Paquette can do this forever. But sometimes you just need people who are fresh and can create an identity with this new brand going forward.
Especially because even though it is something that like you can do interviews forever for the most part, and you don't have to worry about like as much like, hey, I can't perform this pro wrestling move. But you reach a point where I'm sure like Renee would just be like, yeah, I don't want to travel around and do all that all the time. And I'm always surprised that Alicia didn't get signed to WWE after all these years, because she checks all the boxes that they look for. She's knowledgeable what she's talking about. They always tend to go for people that are attractive, and she is. She's young, and she is popular. So if she's got all the qualifications, I wonder why that never manifested. If
I had to genuinely guess, I'd argue that she's probably a little too pro wrestling.
Which is interesting because sometimes that applies to people, and then there's other people that are like, Kathy Kelly had done the, oh god, I'm blanking on the name of it. It's like After Buzz or something.
Yeah,
shows.
After Buzz on was it BuzzFeed? Was it BuzzFeed?
I think it was BuzzFeed. I think it was its own thing or something.
I think it might have been called After Buzz TV. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you get a job through that, and Kelly Kincaid, and sometimes people that are like very tapped into pro wrestling end up getting those gigs, but other times, it is just a matter of like, oh, they're too pro wrestling. We need somebody that's, Jackie Redmond came from hockey, I think.
Something like that. And I think she'd also taken over for Renee when Renee left right after wrestling, which was the Canadian post show on TSN or something there.
Speaking of hockey, though, really quick mention of this one. The WWE belts that they're doing with these whole championship series of partnering up with like Major League Baseball and National Football League and all. It's taken a long time to get to this one, but they finally unveiled their NHL Stanley Cup Champions Legacy title belt. So anybody that is a super big hockey fan, I actually think that it looks pretty good. I'm not a big hockey fan.
That's not the final one. The final one, I believe, will be adorned with whatever team wins the Stanley Cup, which is why they hadn't done it yet, because the Stanley Cup is just finishing now. It's the Edmonton Oilers against the Florida Panthers, and the winner of that will receive the Legacy belt, which I think will be adorned with the team's logo.
And the center plate, not just the side plates.
I'm not sure about, because I do know that they have sold other Legacy belts with just teams on them. Like they have a whole line of MLB and NFL, so I imagine it should be the same here, but maybe not. Either way, I think it's a cool looking design, and if they weren't an arm and a leg, that'd be a nice thing to add to a collection.
I mean, looking at the other designs just to double check, they do have like, the New York Yankees is like the center plate and the side plates. So maybe that is just going to be, you switch it up. But I actually like the Stanley Cup center plate as it is. But yeah, that's not as big of a promotion of whatever the team is that they won for, like the not the Phillies, the Flyers, or whatever it is. I'm assuming the answer to this is no, Callum, because I know you well enough that this is the case. But you a hockey fan?
What's that?
What do you think about did you check out the design of this though?
You probably had no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I've seen it, but I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad or not because I have no idea what it looks like.
Take a look at it. I'll show it to you on Skype.
I've seen it. I have no idea what the Stanley Cup looks like, so I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad.
Oh, you have actually seen the design. Okay, I thought you didn't even see it.
Oh yeah. So I've seen the design. But I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad because I have no idea what the Stanley Cup looks like. So I didn't bother researching off it. Oh, okay, they're doing a hockey thing. I think they're adorning it with whoever wins the Stanley Cup.
That's the way that I'm reading it.
I mean, why would you? It feels like, okay, you're really cutting out your market then of people buying it because the only people that buy it are people who won the team who won the trophy. Like, if you just sell it as a Stanley Cup trophy, then surely anyone that's a hockey fan could buy it then.
I'm guessing that this is number one, and then they're gonna release all of them like they have with the MLB and the NFL.
Yeah, it might just be that like this is the Stanley Cup champions one, and then they'll end up having ones that are like team based, because the ones that are like the football ones and all. Is my voice very deep right now? It sounds like it is. It just has like the Bengals. It doesn't necessarily say on it certain championship or whatever. It just says like established 1968 whatever for these different teams. So they'll probably have like Flyers, and it'll just be that. Yes, I'm bringing up Flyers twice because it's Philly. It's my team, but I always like black, white, and gold together, and I guess black, silver, and gold. And this is a cool design. I like it quite a bit. And then when you throw the actual teams that are going to be on there, we'll see how those look. But it is interesting that they only put this out there without saying that they've been doing the other ones. That's strange.
By the way, the Yankees and the Mets on WWE Shop looks great. Again, kind of thing I would absolutely buy if it wasn't an arm and a leg.
I'm curious how many of these they actually do sell.
I'm guessing they sell quite a lot. The people who collect things like this have no shame.
I mean, sports fans are super fans like none other. So if somebody's a huge fan of the Denver Broncos or whatever, you give them this. These are $550 each. So it's like, you're right when they say they cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah, because like I said, as a New Yorker, the Yankees belt, the Mets belt, very cool. Would absolutely love to have it.
Not the Giants?
No. I'm more of a baseball guy than a football guy.
Screw the Jets too,
Oh, the Jets don't win anything. Ever. Like,
hell if I know. I'm a Philly guy, so none of us win anything. And I don't pay attention to it in the first place. So
and hockey's the only one where I'm like, all right, the Lightning have won 3 in a row. I'll root for Florida in this case. Yeah.
I've still never seen an actual NHL game in person. Only a minor league, the Phantoms. Went to one game, saw somebody get hit in the face with a puck and bleed all over the place, and I was like, oh shit. That's my biggest takeaway from that. Yeah, if you are a hockey fan, and more so than me, who is basically like NHL Hits was good on Xbox 30 years ago, then check that out. Stanley Cup title belt is something that you might be wanting to pick up. You can get it at NHL Shop, WWE Shop, Fanatics. Man, I wish I could get some kind of a deal with any of these things and do something like that, but that's not the case. That's the title belt thing, but there are titles on the line at New Japan's next show. We got Dominion coming up this weekend. I'm not going to be able to watch it, not only because I typically don't necessarily watch New Japan shows, but also that is the day of the wedding that I'm officiating. So Osaka is going to have this 9-card setup. I'm going to pass this over to Callum to give us a little bit more of a breakdown than I would, because you would do a much better job at this, but I'll toss out my opinions.
Okay, so the 9 matches they have scheduled for Dominion this year. Starting off with Tetsuya Naito versus Callum Newman. So this is your classic major star veteran against really young upstart Like, this is Cam Newman is the guy kind of anointed by Will Ospreay to be the next big thing in pro wrestling. So essentially, he's going to get a chance to showcase it against one of arguably the biggest star New Japan has right now. So yeah, Naito will win because they're not crazy enough to have the young guy beat the old guy. That's not how New Japan operates. But yeah, it should be a good showcase for him at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, he's only going to grow from here, but Naito's obviously going to win. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Never heard of Callum Newman before, but is he somebody to legitimately keep an eye on?
I will put it this way, and you can only take it by what Will Ospreay says, but Will Ospreay says that Callum Newman is about several times a better wrestler at his age than what Ospreay was at Newman's age. Huh. So if you take that by what is it, and I've watched him, he's really good. He's still very green, obviously, and he's still developing. He's incredibly quick. He runs the ropes faster than pretty much anybody I've ever seen.
Faster than Bob Breaker?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Wow, damn.
That's his kind of like his party piece, and he does it like he'll usually bounce off the ropes about 5 or 6 times before hitting a move. That's kind of how he just builds up speed. He just ducks under clothesline and stuff like that, and just continues to pick up speed every time. That's his party piece. He does a good Os cutter as well, but yeah, I'd say I've seen like bits and pieces of him, and I haven't really seen him much in singles matches because he's mostly been contained to the tag team scene. But yeah, I'm sure he'll have a good showing here, and Naito's a good guy to have a like one of your preliminary singles match against, really, in New Japan. So then they have the Mighty Don't Kneel of Kosei Fujita, Robbie Eagles, and Zack Sabre Jr. against Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors, Julian Maloney, and LJ Cleary. LJ Cleary I'm very unfamiliar with.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a familiar name to me either.
I don't think I've heard it a single time. So he's right now.
So he primarily works in the UK, or the UK and Ireland with both OTT and ICW, but presumably he's being kind of inducted into, or as an affiliate to, Bullet Club War Dogs. So I believe the way that it's been presented is that Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney are Bullet Club War Dogs, and LJ Cleary is teaming with them. So I guess it's just an affiliation rather than him being inducted into the group. But who knows? Maybe if they win this, maybe that is his induction into the group. But yeah, this is just your typical trios match at the start of the show for New Japan. It doesn't really hold too much bearing on this show. Probably, I don't know for certain, but I imagine it'll have some kind of impact on, a show's coming up. I imagine that if TMDK win, then it means that Kosei Fujita and Robbie Eagles will challenge Bullet Club War Dogs for the junior heavyweight tag team titles. So that would be my one assumption of where this could go. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter who wins, so I'll just go TMDK.
I'll agree with that, and I'll say they will pin LJ Cleary to do it.
That makes sense, yeah.
That sounds about right. He seems like the guy that has just been brought in to take the pin. Yu Uemura versus Great-O-Khan in a Storm Catch Rules match for the King of Pro Wrestling Championship. So, I've had a look into it. Storm Catch Rules are essentially, it's a very, very, strict mat wrestling match. Because Yu Uemura is was an amateur pro wrestler before joining pro wrestling, and Great-O-Khan isn't, and Yu Uemura won the kind of the fan vote on his stipulation, and so he's basically going to try and beat Great-O-Khan at his own game, or at Yu Uemura's own game, giving himself an advantage for this one, in his hopes to retain the title. But I couldn't give a fuck about this match in general, really. They haven't done much with the KOPW Championship. It's not been very fun. And it's basically just been between Great-O-Khan and Yu Uemura for the last 2 months or so. So yeah. And I'll say Great-O-Khan wins because they seem to try and give him something to do at the very least.
I'm going to say Yu wins because I think Great-O-Khan winning in this style would kind of suck, but you never know.
I mean, out of those two, I don't have the slightest idea. So I always tend to go more for champion will retain.
Then we have the Never Six-Man Overweight Tag Team Championships. Current champions Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin against LIJ's members Yota Tsuji, Bushi, and Hiromu Takahashi. This could be fun-ish. Like
fun-ish. That's the selling point.
I mean, the LIJ team is kind of fun. I mean, two of its three members are fun in Hiromu and Yota. Bushi's just Bushi, but the other team, like Ole Bolton, is the exciting. I say exciting. He's very traditional wrestler, like big powerhouse wrestler guy that just throws suplexes most of the time. But he's obviously the young up and comer on that team. And then you have Toriano, who's just pure comic relief, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, whose knees don't work anymore. So yeah, I don't know who they're gonna. I don't know who's gonna retain, who's gonna win this one. I don't think they've. I say the idea of the 6-man tag team titles. The lesson I wish AEW would learn is that you can trade that around as many times as you want to and just have fun matches. So maybe they'll have the titles change hands here, but you never know. They currently seem to be on the trend of keeping those titles on a team for a long time, because they had that on when it was Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi that was holding the championship, and then they just vacated it, and then Tanahashi just won it again with another team. So maybe that's just their plan at the moment, is just to give Tanahashi something to do.
It's the Tanahashi, like how Giant Baba would just wrestle fun trios matches. Tanahashi's president, he's just gonna do fun president things. But I could also see a scenario where LIJ wins here, and maybe we get LIJ Bullet Club Gold at Forbidden Door. That's just me trying to shoehorn some Forbidden Door into this, but
so now, so Bullet Club get like another set of belts.
They theoretically could, if they wanted to go that route. But I think I'll say Tanahashi's team wins, but that LIJ team is strong enough that I could see them winning.
I'm gonna stick with the thing I normally do. The champions are gonna retain.
Okay, then the match that I'm looking forward to: Jeff Cobb versus Tomohiro Ishii. Big meaty guys stuck in meat, beating the shit out of each other. Yeah,
meat.
This is the meat match, and actually, there's one of two meat matches on the show. But this will be fun. I imagine Jeff Cobb will try and throw him around, and Tomohiro Ishii will absorb every single blow until he can't anymore, and Jeff Cobb will retain because this is his first defense of the World TV Championship. So I don't imagine he's going to drop it at the first defense.
Okay, here's a question of the day for everybody in the comments, as well as you two. With the phrase big meaty men slapping meat, do you picture meat? And if so, what meat?
It's usually a prime cut of steak. But it's kind of like Rocky, Meat Locker. You know? It's usually what I'm thinking about when I say that phrase.
Similar. I picture just a raw steak being thrown.
Yeah. Yeah, like the kind of thing Fred Flintstone would put on his eye or something. Very, very weird.
Callum, you want to make this a threefer, or are you more mentally stable than we are?
Well, I just imagine two guys beating the shit out of each other. That's kind of
yeah. I get quite literal with it for some fucking reason.
No, I get quite literal with it. You're going you're getting metaphorical with the actual.
Yeah. Look, either way, this is going to be a great meat match, and Ishii won't win anything, but it'll be fun.
Now I could make a Cobb joke with meat, but okay. I think Cobb's going to retain.
I was going to make a Hawaiian bread joke because he's from Hawaii, but I left it alone.
Those rolls are great.
They really are.
Then you have a four-way tornado tag team winner takes all match. Okay, that's
so it's four-way tornado tag team elimination.
Oh, it's elimination
takes all match. So it's Bullet Club, Kenta and Chase Owens, who are the current IWGP tag team champions, against Gorillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo, and Hikuleo, who are the current strong openweight tag team champions, against Bishamon, who are the former IWGP tag team champions, against TMDK, who are the former strong openweight tag team champions. All just battling out to win both belts, and I believe unify them. But I cannot. But I can. They've teased this before. I believe at least once already, if not twice. And so I cannot guarantee that's the case. I know that Tanahashi recently said in one of his press conferences that the strong titles are only going to be defended on US shows moving forward.
So that sounds to me like they're not going to unify them.
Yeah, that means that they'll just defend the IWGP on that show, and then whoever wins it, and it also wins the strong openweight title, will just go over to the US and defend that there if they have the opportunity to do so. But
it's crazy because this is a thing that's been really happening a lot in the past couple of years, and even just this year alone, like these companies love unifying belts and or almost unifying belts, but having people be double champions or triple champions and all. It just keeps happening. And we know that we're going to get this, and we're also going to get one at Forbidden Door too.
Yeah, it's easy booking.
There's so many belts, and it's an easy way to go, my God, we're unifying belts tonight. It's just marketing.
So in terms of like, I guess a likelihood of winners, I'd put Guerrillas of Destiny at the bottom just because we all kind of know that Hikuleo is going to WWE at some point. So I think it's unlikely that they'll win both belts. I don't want Bullet Club are likely in terms of Kenner and Chase Owens, but I wish it wasn't because they absolutely suck. Yeah, they all. I mean, Bishamon are the best team.
TMDK is good.
I'd say Bishamon and TMK are both very solid tag teams, and the whole New Japan tag team division has kind of been built around Bishamon for the last 2 years or so. And
Ever
TMDK,
since the split of Gorillas.
yeah, exactly. And then TMDK have been, they've always been like the perennial nearly team. They've like had a couple of runs in title, but nothing super sustainable. So I'd like to see TMDK win because I think they're a really good team, and I'd be happy with Bishamon winning. Neither team that's currently going into this match of champions I want to come out as double champions because I think they both suck really. I'll go with Bishamon because I think they play it safe.
I am like as tapped out for this as I could when it comes to not having any idea who has any kind of momentum, but
it's a tag team division, no one has any momentum.
At like a very, distant kind of point of view, I would think you make perfect sense when it comes to rolling out Guerrillas of Destiny for Hikuleo. And then if the other two teams were the former teams that lost the belts going into this, I think I'd probably just go Bullet Club.
But see, they were the former champions, but they both only held it they both immediately lost it. Well, how it happened is that at both those teams won the belts from both Guerrillas of Destiny and Bullet Club. So it went from Bullet Club to Bishamon, back to Bullet Club in the span of a month. And then it went from Guerrillas of Destiny to TMDK to Guerrillas of Destiny in the span of 1 month as well. So literally these teams have just held these titles since around about January or February time and pretty much just traded it between each other at least once. So
see, sometimes when that happens in wrestling, if the teams are strong enough, like,
that could be exciting, yeah.
Yeah, like if it's just like Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money or Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys, that's fine. You can have a tag team division of 3 teams, but this doesn't feel strong, pardon the pun. I'm going to say TMDK wins it because, yes, Shane Haste, his contract is running out, but I don't see him wanting to leave. So I'm going to say TMDK.
You don't think he's going to make a hasty decision?
Are you looking to get Slapjack?
I'm looking to get Patreon subscribers that go, God damn it, Tony, stop. Or do more.
Then we have our second meaty man match. Shingo Takagi defending the Never Openweight Championship against Hanare. This, for me, I think it'll be a great match because I think these two have worked together so many times and they've had like exceptional matches against each other in terms of that very hard-hitting, violent style. I think it's about time they belted up Hanare. He seems to always be right at the door, but they just can't force his way through. So I think this is now the opportunity to give him a singles championship, help him stand out from the crowd. And Shingo is a guy that can lose and loses no momentum. He could be fighting for the world title within a month if they want to push him that way. Obviously, we've got both Forbidden Door and then the G1 coming up very soon, so he'd be a focal point of that. So he doesn't need to be the Never Openweight champion, but Hanare could definitely use the boost of holding gold for the first time.
This is a serious question. How close did Hanare come to just dying in that cage match?
I think that might be a exaggeration, how close he came to dying, but he definitely should not have been wrestling by the mid part of that match.
Like that injury.
He lost a lot of blood.
Yeah, and it was like the reason I mentioned that is because like he was concerned about it. So belt up Hanare. He's more than proven his worth.
Yeah, I gotta look and see if I can find picture of this because I hadn't heard about that. When did that happen?
Was it February?
Yeah, it was Ospreay's final match, wasn't it? So
yeah.
So it would have been like a couple of weeks before Evolution.
Let's see if we can find a quick thing.
But yeah, he was basically wearing a makeshift tourniquet on his head to prevent the blood from coming out.
Oh, I see it now. I see the tourniquet. I don't really see the blood and stuff, but
well, that's the idea of a good tourniquet, is that you stop the blood coming out.
Oh yeah, they did a good job. Yeah, Ospreay said I could fit 4 fingers in his head. Like, God, Jesus.
I mean, I don't know how big his fingers are, but so you thinking that Hanare is going to win the belt?
He should do. I think that there's no reason not to give him the title at this point, because Shingo doesn't need it.
Well, if you're thinking about reasons to give somebody a title or not, look at that lumberjack match. Evil is gonna totally beat Jon Moxley for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Right? Oh, it's just listed on Wikipedia as lumberjack match.
Yeah, so it's a lumberjack like death match thing now.
I love that.
Yes, it's going to be like no DQ. So they've both selected who the lumberjacks are. So Evil's going to be surrounded by the rest of House of Torture, naturally. So people like Ren Narita, Yujiro Takahashi, Dick Togo, that sort of group. Whereas Jon Moxley is going to be surrounded by Shota Umino, of course, and then the kind of members of the old guard of New Japan. So Yuji Nagata, Hiroshi Tenzan, Togi Makabe, that kind of collective. So essentially, there's been like Jon Moxley and the kind of old guard of New Japan defending New Japan from the House of Torture and all their shenanigans. This is probably gonna suck.
Yeah,
I'd say yeah, because it's just going to be loads of people trying to get into the ring constantly and fight. I mean, they'll be fighting on the outside. I know it's a deathmatch thing, so there's going to be like no DQ associated with it. So basically, it's going to be people crawling in and out of the ring constantly, doing stuff, and hopefully Moxley retains. I don't really think that Evil should be world champion, but they've made that mistake before, so there's nothing stopping them from doing that again. But yeah, I would hope that Moxley retains.
Yeah, everything Callum said, but I want to throw out the caveat of how close are we to the G1?
It's July it would start. But they've actually announced they probably announced the first date, but I don't know when it is yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close. Either Moxley drops that belt or Moxley might be in the G1.
Or they just don't have the champion in the G1.
Yeah, there's that possibility.
I mean, how many times have they had the champion versus not?
Pretty much all the time they have the champion in it.
We've had Royal Rumbles with the champion in there, and there's been Survivor Series. Like, how many of the Survivor Series events haven't had a Survivor Series match on it? Like, you can play around with it.
I tell you, we got Forbidden Door coming up.
Yeah.
So I think my prediction is that obviously Moxley retains, and then Naito comes out to challenge him for Forbidden Door,
and then maybe wins the belt back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's why Naito's on the show. Other than to give Newman a good match, it's so he's there so he can come out to challenge Moxley afterwards.
Yeah, I guess I was gonna say it's weird to have Naito win on AEW ground, but I guess that makes the most sense. Yeah.
So the first match of the first night of the G1 Climax is July 20th. So
okay, so you get a little bit of time.
Yeah, just over a month or so. So So there's time for Moxley to drop the title. So hopefully it's not against Evil.
Yeah, I don't think it should be. And you laugh, Tony, but like Evil winning that belt was a clear sign of like the downturn, you know?
I still just laugh at the idea that the guy's name's just Evil. Because it's like, you didn't try at all, did you? You might just be villain or heel.
It really could have been Dookie.
No, that's great in a different way. So is Dick to go. Yeah, but it's not even the main event. Surprisingly, even though it's for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, because the best of the Super Junior tournament finals are going to be happening instead.
Yeah, so the finals of the tournament this year are El Desperado versus Taiji Shimori. As I haven't watched every match, or even like a majority of the matches that have happened in the best Super Juniors this year. By all accounts of people that do watch this stuff and that I listen to, like through podcasts and stuff, this has been one of the most uninspiring best of the Super Junior tournaments of all time. Not like the worst in terms of just like every match sucks or anything like that, but just it all felt very bland and plain. Taiji Shimori winning is a bit of a surprise just because he's like a guy that has been pushed pretty consistently, but he's not been at his best for a while. I think a lot of people think that maybe Francesco Akira was supposed to win, but he got injured partway through the tournament, so he had to withdraw and forfeit all his matches. So that may have put a spanner in the works, because he seemed like a guy that was being pushed quite heavily leading into the best of Super Juniors. El Desperado is a constant kind of figure up in the upper echelon, so it's not a surprise to see him there. I mean, it's not really that interesting whoever wins, because neither of them are new enough faces to make things kind of interesting. Like at the moment, it's I can't even remember who the champion is at this point in time. That's how little I care at the moment.
Isn't it Hiromu?
No, Hiromu's not the champion. It might be. Let me have a look. I should know who this is. I keep just constantly forget about this stuff. Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, Desperado's the champion. So Despi is the champion right now. Is he? God, why can't I find this information out quickly enough? Yeah, he's the. I believe he's the current one. Oh no, it's Show. Show is the champion. God, that's why I don't care, because it's on the House of Torture guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I did not know that at all. I guess I'm 2 champions behind.
Yeah, so he lost it to him in February, so that's why. Yeah, so Show's not been in this tournament, I don't think. Or if he has, like he clearly doesn't win it, but that's typical for like a best of Super Juniors or a G1 climax. You don't have the champion win it. So yeah, Show was in Block B and was quite far down the order in the end. But yeah, I mean, either guy winning against Show. I mean, Desperado was the last champion, so maybe he just gets another opportunity. Taiji Shimori's a bit of a weird one because they're both part of Bullet Club technically, because House of Torture is a Bullet Club offshoot. So having them go up against each other would be a little bit weird as well. So I assume Desperado will win. He's probably most over Junior outside of Hiromu right now. But yeah, either way, this isn't particularly inspiring at all. It's not the outside of the 2 kind of fun like meat slapping matches that are going to have on this show. There's not really much to get super excited about Dominion, at least from my perspective.
That's a shame, because I remember like it was just a few years ago that it was. I know all these names have moved on at this point, but like they were doing, Jericho Naito, Omega Okada. Like Dominion was like their SummerSlam for WWE terms, and I don't get that feeling looking at this card.
So do you plan on watching it live, either of you?
If nothing else happening like that at that time, then yeah, because it'll be like pretty early in the morning for me.
Yeah, I might have to, but it depends on, again, when it's being shown and stuff.
Well, as usual, we don't have our whole predictions thing carrying over with a different pay-per-view point post show and all that other kind of things, but whatever happens on that show, we'll lump that into the hot tags next week and, kind of discuss any kind of big moments or whatever. And then that brings us to our final set of hot tags here at the TV recap of things. Of course, we're not going to break down every single little thing. Monday Night Raw, I'm double checking to see if there's things in particular that I feel like we should talk about. We had some matches that are
Liv
like
and Dom. I mean, it was the main crux of the show.
The Liv and Dom thing. That storyline's great. I'm really digging that they just keep leaning more and more to that. I like that Liv Morgan went through and just blasted his Instagram and liked every single post, keeping that going.
I'm genuinely at a point where I don't know what the end of the story is.
It's got to be a custody of Dominic thing.
Well, I think that would be very funny.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in the Finn Balor of it all, like him being the one to be like, "Hey, you stay away from him." Is there a swerve there where, Balor is actually signing with Liv? I'm liking the story, and it's Dominic, surprisingly, is one of the more enjoyable characters to tune in for at this point. Which good for him, but who would have seen that coming?
I still feel like the entire Judgment Day is going to be disbanded by the end of the year. And it'll be Rhea on her own, Dom with, maybe he's with Liv, maybe he's not, but the Carlito connection seems to be continuing. So maybe Dom's with Carlito, JD with Finn, and Damian on his own.
I'm curious about the dynamics of all of that, but also I like the little things like Dom telling Damian, "Hey, I can't help that women are attracted to me," just in his sheepish way. It's like he's the funniest character on the show, and he's not overdoing it. Like, it's not R-Truth funny where it's just like, "And here I come with a pie," Dom is just a fun character, and Liv is completely tapped into this tremendous work she's doing.
The other stuff that happened on Raw, for the most part, it was just matches, like across the board, and like some of that stuff definitely go back and check out. Like, I'm liking what they're doing with Braun Breaker and having him just be like, I wouldn't necessarily be like, a total badass, although he puts that on his ring gear now. So, but like he's, fired up and going after Ricochet and all. We had this, typical scenario where Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are like, "Hey, we exist even though you haven't paid attention to us for like a year, but because we've got Clash at the Castle coming up, we're going to start just immediately doing that." So it's like, it's as transparent as it could possibly be. And that points even more so to the idea that Gunther has to be doing something very noteworthy for Bash in Berlin, because if they're like, "Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Piper Niven, we suddenly remember you exist and we're going to put you on the card here," I'm surprised that Nikki Cross hasn't already as well. But not a whole lot of other things on Raw.
Maybe for the purposes of Nikki Cross, the Wyatt Six thing happens in Glasgow, just so Nikki Cross can say, "I'm in Scotland."
Could be. That's...
It's pretty wild how they're just, "Hey, we're going to Scotland. All right, we got Drew in the main event. Piper's getting a title match. Dawn and Fire are getting a title match. And we're good. We don't have to book anything." Like,
any takeaways you have from the little bits you heard about Raw, Callum, before we move on?
Not particularly, no.
Here's one, another contract thing, kind of. But Chad Gable's contract is coming up. If not like this week or next week, then the week after. Do we think he wins the IC title?
I think he kind of has to.
I'm genuinely not sure, but because they're dragging out the turn of like, okay, and he sides with the Creeds, or the Creed side with him. But, I'll give him credit. Otis got a hell of a pop just for like standing up to him. When people buy into something, they really buy into it. And this is a solidly told story with 3 mid-card guys. Well, Sammy's a bit above that. But this is a solid story, and I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying, for the most part, NXT lately. We had Jordan Grace have her debut match there, beating Stevie Turner. There was this whole split with Lash Legend and Trick Williams because she wants to focus on the ladder match coming up this weekend. And the continuation of a lot of that, like a lot of the stories that they've been bouncing around for Battleground. Battleground's had a pretty interesting setup of just like not committing to some stuff until the last minute and then switching things around. But on top of that, you have like Sean Spears is feuding with Josh Briggs now, and John Evans. John Evans is just like everybody's best friend. He's helping out Josh Briggs. He's helping out Trick Williams. He's hanging out with people backstage. They definitely are seeing big things in Javon Evans. And I'm actually glad that I recruited him to the fantasy league team. But a lot of the takeaways from NXT we already talked about on our Battleground predictions. Any other things that we didn't really get into that you feel like we should touch on?
We probably hit on all of it, but I do just want to say again, as a general statement, between the three brands, NXT is probably the most fun I have watching any WWE television, and that says something.
I don't think there's anything that you missed on this episode that you would have particularly liked, Callum. I'll say that.
No, I imagine not. I'd
Yeah.
say I still hold the. Someone who's not watching, I can't say for certain, but I still hold the stand that NXT is just for horny teenagers, stupid people, and non-wrestling fans. That's kind of.
Well, where do I fall in that category?
You probably know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I did see like
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It's a quote,
I did see someone put the report out there because they wanted to kind of track how if Jordan Grace's appearances on NXT had any correlation to like maybe an increase in viewership for TNA show on Thursday. And they tried to look into it, but they couldn't tell because TNA didn't rank in the top 150 shows that was that were on TV in its time slot on that.
Okay,
Just for context, the lowest shows on that ranking got 19,000 viewers.
This is serious.
Wow.
Because I track this information, and I've been tracking regularly for years now over at Fightful and all that. TNA hasn't ranked in the top 150 consistently since like well before the announcement of the rebranding. I think they now hit maybe one show out of the month will rank, but they have not ranked consistently in a very long time. And it's really unfortunate too. And with the recent lack of focus on ratings, you're not seeing people like Brandon Thurston used to like provide detailed, okay, they didn't rank, but here you go. Now that there's less and less of a focus, as this information becomes harder and harder to track, it's just like, yeah, we don't know what TNA did. Yeah. Pretty sad. When Who Killed WCW on Vice definitely ranked in the top 150 for Tuesdays.
Yeah. I do think it's quite interesting because all the people saying that WWE have done way more for TNA than AEW ever did when Kenny Omega was their champion and stuff. I'm not saying that AEW did a great job for TNA, but it's clearly WWE's not doing anything for them either.
Yeah, I mean, that boils down to one thing. Access is a fun channel. They've got some good stuff on it, but nobody's watching fucking Access TV. Period.
I mean, people aren't watching TV in general, let alone the smaller
let
networks.
alone Access. Like, for example, I recently switched over to YouTube TV. They don't even give Access TV. You know, like it's a different.
I do get that, but obviously, as someone who doesn't have like US like subscriptions or anything like that, so I don't know how the cable system and all that works as well. But do people actually really watch USA other than Raw?
Yeah,
as far as I'm aware, USA is one of those networks that Raw definitely is like an anchor for it, but that they get like spurts of things. Like they've always came across to me as like, here's our shows that we really are into, and suddenly like we're gonna like they keep advertising this. I'm trying to look it up, the McBee Dynasty Real American Cowboys, which looks dumb as shit.
It comes on after Raw. I have seen glimpses of a few episodes because I don't change the channel fast enough.
And this Race to Survive New Zealand. I don't know why New Zealand is going after them, but sci-fi is like when you look at like the USA promotion for sci-fi or whatever it is, they advertise Chucky. And Barmageddon is NBC. On the website, those are the 4 things that they are like really hanging their hat on, are those 4 shows. I don't know anybody that watches any of those 4 shows.
Did you say Barmageddon was NBC?
That's what it's listed as, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then Barmageddon did good enough on USA that it got promoted to NBC. Because Barmageddon was originally a USA original. And that's what I mean. Like, USA does get watched because they will still get original programming. Not as big as it did, like, 15 years ago when they were getting shows like Suits and Burn Notice and Psych. But they still do relatively well for themselves, as does TNT, as does TBS. A channel like Access, nah.
Actually, if you scroll on their USA originals, almost every single one of them is some kind of reality show. There's
at
like,
this point, yes.
The Chris Lee shows, Ms. and Mrs., something called Race for the Championship, Snake in the Grass, Straight Up Steve Austin, Mud, Sweat, and Beards. Like, Chucky is the only one that's an actual scripted thing, it seems. Which, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like, hey, future USA Network, if you want to hire me, whatever. But it seems like this is basically them being like, we don't want to pay to make TV shows. We want to just have cheap reality crap like I don't know what this is. Austin Dillon's Life in the Fast Lane. They're very clearly marketing towards a certain audience too. It's like Southern kind of, it's all NASCAR and wrestling and TNA. Like TNA, not TNA, because Temptation Island and all. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know anybody that I have never heard in the past couple of years anybody say, I've been watching TV. Period. It's just like that they're watching a particular show. And then on top of that, I haven't heard anybody bring up USA Network or anything like that. So it's definitely not Axis.
The last time I heard somebody bring up USA was definitely for Suits. And that started in 2011, so that tells you everything you need to know.
I got a little bit of an idea for it. Starts with Urge, ends with Merge. We don't need all these freaking channels.
The fuck do you merge with? What the fuck? At that point, that's not merging, that's purging.
The urge to purge, that's the thing too. Just get rid of all these. We don't need 1,000. We haven't needed 1,000 stations in ever. And when they put this crap out there, and it's like, who the fuck is watching this dedicated garbage at 3 a.m. or something like that? Like
old people who can't sleep. They matter, Tony.
Learn how to stream. You got nothing better to do. You're well, as far as TV networks and stuff, TNT and TBS and all them are still around and all, and AEW Dynamite on TBS this past Wednesday. Let's talk about that. Round out our hot tags here.
Callum, before we get into depth about it, I want to know, just overview, what did you think of Dynamite?
I thought there was some very good matches on it. There was some stuff that I wasn't as huge a fan of, but I think on the whole it was a better show than last week's one.
Yeah, I thought so too, because I saw a lot of people being like, I hate this show. And maybe it's just because of the dedicated Jericho segments.
There was too much Jericho on the show.
There was that's what upsets me, because I was like, you know what? He's in that phase right now where he got it. And then almost immediately he just turned it up way too much, way too loud, way too quick, and it's just like
So I'm gonna be the contrarian opinion here.
Of course you like it. Tell me you like it. How much do you like it, Tony?
The more I saw of Jericho doing that on this episode, the more I liked it. I'm kind of liking the whole "thanks, guys" thing. Like,
listen, it's a good thing, but it's in like I don't need.
They're gonna overkill it.
Well, yeah. Well, I was saying he was in 4 segments on this show.
Yeah.
Like two would be fine. Or maybe even 3 at a push, but it's like I know the segments are pretty short and they're all pretty much taking place backstage, but I do appreciate the fact that it is showcasing Brian Keith more. Like essentially, what they're doing is Jericho coming on and saying his shtick about like, "Hey, I'm here to help you learn," and showing you how to do things. And then as soon as someone says like anything against Jericho, just Brian Keith just going out to say, "Don't you dare disrespect Chris Jericho!" And so I think that he's getting more exposure out of this, which is good. And Big Cass, and he's great. I know it's Big Bill, but
I laughed at the easy thing where he's talking to Angelo Parker about his baby, and he's like, "Remember, easy," and he's just saying it in such a way that I thought if they'd cut it off there, I would have said that was good. That was the right amount of Jericho, and that was perfect.
Have they yet done this joke? Maybe I missed it about Big Bill being in the learning tree and Jericho saying something about, and you can't teach that.
No,
I meant the joke.
Yeah. He constantly refers to him as the giant redwood, though, so that's the tree aspect of it.
How can you sit under a learning tree when you're 7 foot tall and you can't teach that? Yeah, like.
Yeah, I was a fan of those things. I can see why people weren't necessarily. Maybe I'm a contrarian opinion of this too, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the MJF promo.
I saw a lot of that going around. Kellen, what did you think?
I think he's going in a different dynamic now. I mean, first of all, he clearly decided that he's going on first because he wants to get the lead-in number. He's definitely MJ Hogan right now, for want of a better phrase. Like that is pure Hogan playbook. Come out when the viewership's going to be highest, so you can just tell about how you're the most watched thing on the show. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going in a direction of like just coming back, reintroducing himself, and basically targeting people that he's going to have feuds with in the next year and a half or so. But he's immediately going into the Rouge stuff, which is good. It's going to be like one of those like hard hitting physical matches. Clearly, MJF is going for a like bad boy persona now of like babyface, but he's more of an Austin type character.
He's literally going for 02 Hunter minus the insane bulk up, because that's kind of what he's doing. I saw a lot of people say they weren't fans of the low hanging fruit with Rouge and the wet chant and like the making fun of his accent. But I'm also like, I don't normally watch wrestling with the like casual fans, let's say. So I wonder if you just sit in a room with people who like wrestling but don't obsess over it, if they'd be like, yeah, that was kind of funny. I understand why hardcore, diehard fans would say, oh, this is old hat. But then I wonder, what about the rest of the audience? Because maybe there's a reason why that stuff just doesn't ever go away.
I don't mind what MJF said because it's consistent with his character that we've seen over the toss, which is he'll always go with the low-hanging fruit. It's the what chance that really bothered me, because Rouge was speaking perfectly fine English, and the crowd just want him because they're racist.
Casual racism.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's just a lot of it. Yeah, but I think the match itself should be fun. It's like if I was MJF and I had the power to do his stuff, I probably wouldn't want to have my first match against Rouge, because your first match could be your last match in that regard. But I imagine it'd be quite physical. So at least that's something out of it. I say it was like a neither here nor there segment. It wasn't like perfect by any stretch of imagination.
I'm not a fan of the fact that the Acclaimed is getting a run with the Bucks, it seems.
They'll get a one-off match with the Bucks and then they'll move on from it. I think they're on the slow journey to eventually separating the Acclaimed out, but they're going to give them an opportunity to do something first. Or maybe they're trying to rehab them, who knows? But either way, I think it will eventually end up with them breaking up. But that was good things. I mean, the Fatal 4-Way match determined the international championship number contender. Yeah, with Ray Phoenix winning, that was like a fun party match, and it means we're going to get Ray Phoenix versus Will Ospreay, which will be a ton of fun next week.
I hope that they have extra ambulances at the arena because I'm sure they're going to try to do anything they can just to absolutely steal the show, which might result in some scary moments.
And then they continued with that. Also, the had Chris Statlander punch Orange Cassidy to continue that stuff. So yeah, I think might get a mixed tag match then between Nightingale and Cassidy. I don't know whether that happened at Forbidden Door. Yeah, I don't know whether that happened at Forbidden Door, but it'll definitely happen at some point. Because at the moment, it seems like Forbidden Door is definitely just an AEW show at the moment. They need to mix things up a little bit more. Mark Briscoe qualified for the TNT Championship ladder match.
Really annoying when he hasn't appeared on Ring of Honor television.
Has he not? Really?
Nope.
Not much at all since he's been champion.
Nope. It's so silly. Like, just don't have Ring of Honor if you're gonna do it like this.
But
what's that urge?
In this case, Purge.
Urge to Purge.
But then you had the Blackpool Combat Club with Willie Uta back, which is good to see.
Yeah,
we were talking about that earlier and like last week pretty much, and now he's actually healthy and ready to go again, which is great. And they took on a group of guys from CMLL. Just another fun 8-man party match. I'd say it was good, a decent enough match. They went more in the lucha style of just not really tagging in and out, but like just rolling in and out of the ring, really, which is kind of how they do it in lucha. And we'll kind of parallel that into the promo later on that was given by Bryan Danielson, where he said he's going to be in the Owen Hart tournament. He's planning on winning it and main eventing Wembley and winning the title on his way out.
Yeah, it's a hell of a
you should do all of those things.
To just be like, I'm going to do this tournament, I'm going to win that, then I'm going to do this and fight for the title there and all. And it's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm on board.
I think he should do it, yeah.
I think he should, and he should actually win.
And you know what? The one guy in the room that's telling him is saying not to do it is Bryan Danielson.
It's probably Bryan Danielson. And I'll go a step further. You know who he should lose it to? Fucking Darby Allin. Darby should beat him at Wrestle Dream.
I'd be down for that, yeah, as well.
There you go. Like, that'd be an amazing way to do it. And then Darby's crazy ass can be like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna fight everybody. Literally, I'm putting this up in the Continental Classic, and I just booked the end of the year for them. Like, that would be the most logical way to do it. And I guarantee you, like Callum says, the only person who might be saying no, Bryan Danielson.
Because everyone kind of always speculated, or has been speculating, at least since even last year, that Bryan Danielson's match at Wembley would be against Nigel McGuinness.
Right. Although everybody kind of seems to be going like, why is everybody speculating on that? It's not going to happen at the same time too. But then you don't trust that stuff because it's pro wrestling, and 9 times out of 10 when somebody says no, the thing that's obvious isn't going to happen, they do it and then they go, well, I couldn't tell you it was going to happen. You know, like
I think it would be that. I mean, I would just, as someone who's going to go to see it, I've never seen Bryan Danielson wrestle live. He was on the only time I've seen him at a show was at a SmackDown taping that I went to, where he had just come back from his seemingly career-ending injury, but he was just involved in a segment with Big Cass, funnily enough, in their memorable feud. Yeah, but he wasn't actually in a match, so I've never got to see him wrestle because he was injured for the last All In.
That's crazy because he was there like a week later for Chicago.
Yeah, so this would be my one and probably potentially, I'd say potentially at this point, because I don't think he's going to be retired, but he'll come back sporadically. But this might be my one opportunity to see Bryan Danielson wrestle live. So if he was to win the title there, that'd be great, especially because, well, considering what the main event of Forbidden Door is, we're not getting Ospreay in the main event of that show, so, or not in the title match at the very least. So yeah, why not just give it to Danielson? And I think we've said that plenty of times. Give Danielson the title. Yeah. Just have him win it. Hold it for literally. He would only, if he was to drop it at Wrestle Dream, he would have held it for a month and a half, which is fine. It just means he's in the record books. He gets to hold the title for a little while, and then and Darby Allin is the perfect guy to beat him for the title.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I would do it. And I don't see a reason why Danielson shouldn't be in the record books. Even if you're Tony Khan, you yell at him like, "Hey, no, I want your name in the lineage of my title belt."
What if they do a reverse Montreal screw job?
Yeah, where Danielson's staying on the ground, getting pinned.
And it's just like, oh, look at that. That guy tapped out to Danielson, and he's just like, what? He didn't. No, he didn't. And I guess you're going to have to be champion now. Oh, man. So, what a way to end the Owen Hart Cup and all that stuff.
Mariah May versus Saraya was very good. I thought that was a good match. And then they had Saraya win, which is a bit of a shock, but I think it fed well into the story they're telling, which is Mariah's always trying to help Tony in her situations, but then Tony is kind of sitting back when Mariah's in trouble. But then they had Mina Shirakawa come in, make the save, and we already know there's going to be Mina versus Tony for the championship at Forbidden Door. But it means that it's now both seemingly for the title, but also for Mariah May's affection as well. I like that Tony said on commentary as well. That was funny. Was the AEW's where the breast wrestle.
Yeah, and then the breast really,
yeah,
they really emphasized that afterwards when they went chest to chest, and then Mariah May was just nuzzled in between them. That was a fun segment.
I like the idea that they're doing that match here.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, I've been bitching and moaning about not being into Tony Storm's feuds for like 2 years now. And it's like, all right, this isn't just, I want to fight you for belt, or we keep fighting and we keep fighting. There's a different extra story to go along with it this time. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm not familiar with Mina Shirakawa enough to be like, I'm sick and tired of watching all her matches. I know exactly what it's going to be or anything like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. I am totally down for this. And of course, we'll talk about this, like, the prediction wise when we get to that. But I like it quite a bit.
And then the main event, where Strickland retained the AEW World Championship against Roderick Strong because, well, of course he did. He's not going to lose the title to Roderick Strong here. And, again, fun match. Roderick Strong's a great wrestler. Swerve Strickland's a great wrestler. But the best thing about this, arguably the whole show, but then just at the match itself, was Swerve and Prince Nana doing the dance with a granny at ringside.
Yeah, it was a really fun thing. And by the way, Raw had a granny too. There was a granny in the front row of Raw, and it was just like, yeah, these nice little old ladies are just having fun at the wrestling shows. Do more of that.
They're the ones that know how to stream.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought it was a decent enough show. I do think that they still need to. I think they're trying to get Dominion out of the way, New Japan side of things, before they then start committing people to Forbidden Door, because we don't know. Well, they don't want to tease any like New Japan title matches happening on the show until they've gone past Dominion and those titles have even been defended and we know who's going to be facing them for it. So yeah, so I think that they're currently just like slowly building up to it, but they've already decided they've kind of like the two big selling matches already are the Ospreay Strickland match and the Monet the Care match. They're kind of like your two big draws. So I think that'll probably be enough to get most people's attention, and then everything else on top of that will just be stacking on top of that.
So of course, it's going to be title for title. They're basically going, hey, now that you can wrestle again, we're going to put that belt on you that we created basically just for you. So that's, again, another thing we'll talk about when it comes to our predictions and stuff coming up further down the line. As far as I'm concerned, those are all the hot tags I got.
Yep.
So keep in mind, everybody, if you are interested in hearing more from us about anything, drop your thoughts in the comments below and pitch whatever those things are that you want us to talk about. And tell us what you think about all the things that we have already discussed. Make sure you stay tuned to everything that's going on this space, if and when other things happen. And check out the fanboysanonymous.com website, the Smark at Moment website, beyond just our YouTube channel and our Spotify and all that stuff. go to the link tree at amagotree.com. You'll find links to all sorts of different things there. And then make sure you're following not just me, but following Robin Callum too.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check me out on Twitter, Instagram. I just put up a TikTok about Ritz crackers about an hour ago, right before we started this. And yeah, I'll be around and hopefully on other websites soon enough. So just stay tuned to my socials for all that.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Webmaster14. Check out the power rankings over on smarkmo.com every single Saturday, where I'm ranking the WWE superstars based on their previous week performances. And then you can also check out the Fantasy League over at www.fantasyleague.com. So you've got Battleground coming up, which will be worth additional points than your traditional week-to-week shows because of the pay-per-view aspect of it. Not a pay-per-view prediction side of things because it's not a main roster show. That'll be next week's one. We're talking about Clash at the Castle. But yeah, just check it along, see who's picking up points, who's doing well, and as we move on throughout the year.
Okie dokie, everybody. You know the score. Help us out. Keep us still alive by showing your support, and stay tuned to what may be the NXT Battleground post show. I'm still not entirely sure. Realistically, I probably won't know until actually Sunday. If I am going to be watching the show and doing live coverage and doing all that. I'm hoping to, but then again, I'm also hoping not to and to be doing something else instead. That would be better, but it's all kind of depend. So if it does work out that we don't end up having a post show and live coverage and all that, we'll come around and talk about NXT Battleground in like the hot tags or a future dedicated review or something. And if we do, then you'll be knowing that because I'll be updating the thing and I'll have, those email alerts set up and everything that we normally do. And then we'll get into those things. But that's on Sunday. Today is Friday. Go ahead and watch SmackDown tonight and anything else you're planning on doing. Hopefully you have a great day and we will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment and we are being counted out.